unraveling the complex web of the East Coast-West Coast feud. In the world of hip-hop, the 1990s will forever be remembered for a cultural phenomenon that dominated headlines and tragically culminated in the murder of two of its most influential figures, Tupac Shakur and the notorious Big. This era marked the height of the infamous East Coast-West Coast feud, a rivalry between hip-hop artists and record labels on opposite sides of the United States. One man who became deeply entangled in this web of rivalry and violence was Keefe, a member of the Southside Compton Crips gang. The East Coast-West Coast feud was characterized by tensions, rivalries, and animosity between artists, fans, and even entire regions. It's a period in hip-hop history that many would rather forget, but to truly understand the context behind Keefe's involvement and his perceived connection to Tupac's murder, we must delve into the tumultuous events that transpired during those years. The genesis of the East Coast-West Coast feud. To understand the roots of the East Coast-West Coast feud, we must rewind to the early 90s. Hip-hop, which had originated in New York City, had rapidly evolved and spread to the West Coast, particularly Los Angeles. This expansion resulted in a clash of styles, sounds, and egos. On the East Coast, New York City, with its rich history in hip-hop, was the epicenter of the genre. The likes of the notorious Big, Jay-Z, and Nas, among others, were making their mark, representing the East Coast and its unique style. Meanwhile, the West Coast, spearheaded by artists like Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, and, notably, Tupac Shakur, was on the rise, introducing gangster rap and a different flavor to the genre. Tensions between the East and West Coasts grew as artists and record labels engaged in a battle for dominance. Hip-hop had become a lucrative industry, and the competition for record sales, airtime, and influence was fierce. Keefe's entry into the fray. Keefe, whose real name is Dwayne Davis, was a member of the Southside Compton Crips gang, a group that was known for its involvement in drug dealing during the early 90s. It was in this environment that he came into contact with a gangster known as Eric Zip Martin, who hailed from the East Coast. Zip introduced Keefe to Sean Puffy Combs, who was in the early stages of building his Bad Boy Records empire. This introduction set the stage for Keefe's later involvement in the East Coast-West Coast feud. Zip and Puffy had a close friendship during this time, but their relationship would sour significantly. According to Keefe, Puffy was initially seen as just another individual trying to establish himself in the music business. However, Puffy's rapid success and influence would eventually lead to significant tensions and rivalries. The turning point, the Source Awards and the beef between Death Row Records and Bad Boy Records. The turning point in the East Coast-West Coast feud came at the 1995 Source Awards, an event attended by numerous hip-hop artists and industry figures. It was here that tensions boiled over, with Suge Knight, the founder of Death Row Records, making a statement that would go down in hip-hop history. While accepting an award, Knight famously declared, "Any artists out there that want to be an artist and stay a star, and don't have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the videos, all on the records, dancing, come to Death Row." These words intensified the already strained relationship between Death Row Records and Bad Boy Records. The feud was no longer just a rivalry between artists. It had escalated to a conflict between two of the most powerful record labels in the industry. The feud would reach its peak at the 1996 MTV Video Music Awards, where Tupac Shakur, who had joined Death Row Records, and the notorious Big were nominated for Best Rap Video. The tension was palpable, and it was clear that the rivalry was not limited to mere words or stage performances. It was a conflict deeply rooted in personal and professional animosity. The night that changed everything, Tupac's murder. The night of September 7, 1996, would prove to be a fateful one. Tupac Shakur, Suge Knight, and their entourage attended a Mike Tyson boxing match in Las Vegas. After the match, they headed to a pre-arranged meeting place, where they waited for about 15 minutes for others to arrive. However, the rendezvous did not go as planned. A scuffle broke out, leading to Tupac being fatally shot multiple times. Suge Knight, the founder of Death Row Records, was also injured but survived the attack. This event marked a tragic turning point in the East Coast-West Coast feud and the hip-hop industry as a whole. Keefe's involvement in this incident comes into question, as he was part of the Southside Compton Crips gang, a group with alleged affiliations to Death Row Records. Keefe's nephew had been involved in an altercation with Death Row associates, which escalated the already volatile situation. The circumstances of Tupac's murder remain shrouded in mystery and controversy, and many theories and speculations have emerged over the years. Some believe it was a result of the ongoing feud between Death Row Records and Bad Boy Records, while others attribute it to the tumultuous atmosphere of the hip-hop scene during that era. The aftermath, legal troubles and controversial allegations. In the wake of the shooting, Suge Knight faced legal troubles and was sentenced to 9 years in prison. The details surrounding the incident and its motives remain the subject of debate and speculation. The investigation into Tupac's murder has continued for years, with many unanswered questions. Keefe's involvement in the events leading up to the shooting added to the complexity of the case. Some have alleged that Keefe and others were involved in a plot to harm Tupac and Suge Knight, while others have dismissed these claims as unsubstantiated. The unraveling of the East Coast-West Coast feud. Over the years, the East Coast-West Coast feud has gradually faded into the annals of hip-hop history. The tragic deaths of Tupac Shakur and the Notorious Big served as a sobering reminder of the consequences of such conflicts. The music industry, fans, and artists themselves began to reevaluate the significance of unity and collaboration within the hip-hop community. The feud had taken a toll on the genre, resulting in the loss of two immensely talented and influential artists. It also highlighted the destructive consequences of rivalry and animosity within the music industry. Artists and fans alike began to embrace a more inclusive and collaborative approach to hip-hop, focusing on the art form itself rather than regional conflicts. The legacy of Tupac and Biggie. Tupac Shakur and the Notorious Big left behind a lasting legacy that transcends the East Coast-West Coast feud. Their contributions to hip-hop, their impactful lyrics, and their influence on subsequent generations of artists continue to be celebrated. Their tragic deaths serve as a reminder of the importance of unity and mutual respect within the hip-hop community. The legacies of these two iconic artists live on through their music, which continues to resonate with audiences around the world. Their impact on the genre extends far beyond the confines of a feud, reflecting the power of their artistry and the lasting impression they left on the world of hip-hop. In conclusion, a complex chapter in hip-hop history. The East Coast-West Coast feud was a complex and tumultuous chapter in the history of hip-hop. It was marked by rivalry, tensions, and, tragically, violence. Keefe's involvement in the feud serves as a reminder of the intricacies and consequences of such conflicts. As time has passed, the hip-hop community has sought to move beyond the East Coast-West Coast feud and focus on the art and unity within the genre. The legacies of Tupac Shakur and the Notorious Big continue to inspire artists and fans alike, emphasizing the enduring power of their music. While questions surrounding the events leading up to Tupac's murder remain, the lessons learned from this turbulent period in hip-hop history underscore the importance of promoting unity, collaboration, and respect within the music industry. It is a legacy that reminds us that the true essence of hip-hop lies in the art and the artists who create it.